Welcome to Buffalo Pregame, your source for live Buffalo football discussion, news, analysis, opinions, and more. Presented by ASM Publications and Bills Digest.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Buffalo Pregame. I'm your host, Alex Brasky, here for ASM Publications and Shout Magazine. Late night last night, getting some work done for Buffalo Bills on SI, and it ran a little bit too late to do a show. It was about 3 a.m. before I wrapped up everything, and everyone's pretty much asleep at that point. So I wanted to wait until today to reflect on the game and send everybody into the weekend, a stress-free weekend without Bills football, but plenty of football to be had on Sunday and Monday. But on today's show, we reflect on the Bills' Week 3 matchup with the Miami Dolphins, another win for the Bills. It was a little bit of a struggle at times. It wasn't always guaranteed, but once again, Buffalo comes away with the victory, and an interesting game indeed to discuss here today on the show. Each week on Buffalo Pregame, I'll provide updates on the NFL, NHL, and more via daily articles, podcasts, videos, and more. Please subscribe to Buffalo Pregame with Alex Brasky on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, along with Buffalo Pregame with Alex Brasky on Substack, both of which are free of charge. Also, head over to the YouTube app or wherever you're listening on the audio side and hit that like button, give us a rating, whatever you can do to help spread the word of Buffalo Pregame. It would really mean the world to me. So, all right, let's get into it. We will start with Terrell Bernard's game-changing interception, the play of the day, and really what sealed the deal for the Bills in this one, winning 31-21 over the Miami Dolphins, a tie game late in the second half. But Bernard's pick of Tua Tagovailoa, like I said, seals the deal and clinches the win for Buffalo as they improve to 3-0 in the season and send their AFC East rival to 0-3 on the year. And plenty of people thought that Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer might be fired entering this game if they were indeed to fall to 0-3, the Dolphins, that is. But we'll discuss that a little bit more later. That does not seem to be the case. But Terrell Bernard's game-changing interception, it wasn't all Bernard on this play, as rookie defensive tackle Deon Walker thrust into the starting lineup with the injury to Ed Oliver. He and Daquan Jones working alongside one another with the starters. But Deon Walker, a huge play on this game, beats his man off the line of scrimmage. A pressure on Tua Tagovailoa forces him to get rid of the ball quickly, and that leads to Terrell Bernard cutting in front of the Dolphins receiver and intercepting the ball. And it was a play that Bernard said after the game that he had seen on tape. He gave credit to his linebackers coach, Al Holcomb, and you could see after the game, Walker deflected the pass, got a forearm on the ball. So it was really two players working in concert. As Sean McDermott always says, the pass rush and coverage working together. That was a perfect example on that play with Walker really speeding Tagovailoa up, and then Bernard, the heady play on the back end. So a heck of a play from the rookie. He started these last two games in place of Oliver, and I think Oliver is going to be out for at least one more week. So I think you'll see more of Deon Walker this week against the New Orleans Saints. But Bernard finished the job on this play and perhaps saved the Bills from overtime or at worst an embarrassing defeat. And he's been so good at making these splash plays for the Bills over the years. And for years, the Bills fans were looking for that middle linebacker position to come away with those game-changing plays from Tremaine Edmonds. And now they have Bernard in tow, who has taken away the ball 11 times since the 2023 season, the fourth most in the league during that span. So he really has a flair for the dramatic and always seems to be around the ball at the right time late in the game. And that includes week 1 of this season against the Baltimore Ravens when he recovered the fumble forced by Ed Oliver on Derrick Henry late in the game, helped the Bills complete that comeback victory. And then you look at last year against the Ravens in the postseason, the punch out on Mark Andrews late in the game, helping change that one. So Bernard, a captain of this team, he's not always the most physical player, and he does get caught and lost in the wash at times in the running game, I think. But his instincts in coverage and, like I said, his ability to punch the ball out or cut wide receivers off and make those interceptions is just his big play potential is at such a high level right now that it's helping the Bills win these close games. And everybody says that you can't guarantee turnovers from a season-to-season basis. But one thing I guess you can guarantee is Terrell Bernard coming up with big plays. It wasn't Bernard's best day, aside from the interception, and it's kind of been a slow start to the season for him and a few other Bills players that were extended in terms of the defensive side of the ball this season. But it was nice to see him once again getting in there on the act, nose around the football late in the game, and coming away with the game-changing interception. But as I said, some of those players that the Bills extended this offseason have, I don't know if I want to say struggled, but they haven't made the impact I think everybody was expecting this season. And that really starts with Greg Rousseau. I think there's been some mixed reviews in terms of his performance in this game, but he just hasn't gotten to the quarterback as often as I think his $20 million salary would suggest. And the Dolphins' offensive line is banged up and inexperienced and allowed its previous two opponents to get after Tua Tagovailoa in the pocket. Tua had been sacked 8 times coming in to the game against the Bills, and the Bills managed 0 sacks in this game. And like I said, Rousseau has really been kind of MIA all season. He's not proven worthy of that extension that they gave him this offseason. He's always going to be a strong run defender, but when you're paying an edge defender that type of money, you need him to get after the quarterback. And Sean McDermott admitted as such during his press availability on Friday afternoon, saying that Joey Bosa has been a revelation for this team, but they need more from their pass rush if they hope to win these games down the course of the regular season. So a lot of people chalking up the lack of pass rush in this game to his tendency to get rid of the ball quickly and his average depth of target being very low, a lot of passes behind the line of scrimmage last night. But that wasn't the case in Thursday night's game, as he did not get rid of the ball very quickly. According to Joe Marino of Locked On Bills, he got rid of the ball in 2.74 seconds, which is one of the slowest marks of his career. So it wasn't a matter of the opponent scheming things up and neutralizing your pass rush. These guys were not getting home, and I think it all started with Greg Rousseau. You need to see more from him moving forward. 3 quarterback pressures, over 31 pass rush snaps through the first 2 weeks of the season. He did have, I think, 5 in last night's game, but still the the pressure rate combined between Bosa and Rousseau last night was hovering, I think, around 10 to 15%. I want to say 11 off the top of my head. But Bosa has made the impact with the 3 forced fumbles, the sack against the Jets. You've seen some quality play from him, some impact, but Rousseau, the impact hasn't been there thus far, and it needs to kind of step to the forefront here as the Bills move forward throughout the course of the season. 0 sacks for the Bills against this Dolphins offensive line, and a relatively immobile quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa. It was quite shocking to see, if you ask me. And another kind of disappointment this season. It is only 3 games into his career, so I don't want to be too tough on the rookie, but TJ Sanders has really been ineffective this season. You draft him in the 2nd round for his pass rushing prowess. He has not been able to get after the passer this season. Over 20 pass rush snaps against the Miami Dolphins without a single pressure. So there's a lot to be happy about in terms of this overall run that the Bills have been on over the first 3 weeks of the season. But one of the worrisome aspects of it has been the defense, and really their inconsistency, I think, in getting after the passer. And then another big problem for the Bills is their 3rd down problem. And after a phenomenal 3rd down performance against the Jets, limiting them to 0 for 11 on 3rd down, the Bills let down against Miami. They allowed the Dolphins to convert 10 of 15 3rd down opportunities. On the first Dolphins drive, it was 10 plays, 3 converted 3rd downs. Then before halftime, the Dolphins converted 5 times on 3rd down en route to the end zone. And on that 16-play drive, Miami converted a 3rd and 12, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 7 before they tied the game at 14 points. And then to start the 4th quarter, a 9-play drive. It's another thing, a lot of long drives put together by the Dolphins in this one, which is a bit worrisome. On that 9-play drive, the Dolphins converted 3rd and 14, 3rd and 4, en route to tying the game at 21. And then finally, before Terrell Bernard's interception, the Dolphins converted 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 4. And Lord knows what happens if Bernard doesn't come up with that interception, because Miami was driving. They were closing in on the red zone. And a lot of the Bills' problems on defense yesterday came on 3rd down. And it relates to the pass rush, but also the coverage wasn't there. You look at Tre'Davious White's numbers from yesterday. They weren't all that great. Christian Benford got beat a couple times. The Bills allowed over 44% conversion rate on 3rd down last year. And right now, through 3 games, Buffalo has allowed their opponents to convert 43% of 3rd down. So not much of an improvement in one of this team's areas of focus throughout the offseason. And in my opinion, I think it's a major concern. It's something that needs to be fixed. It's great to believe this team can continue to rely on those takeaways and Josh Allen's MVP level performance, James Cook balancing out the offense, but I'm not so sure that that's going to be everlasting, as this team needs to come up with stops. They need to get their offense back on the field in key situations. And you look back at that 2024 AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, that really reared its ugly head, and I think that's the concern. Come playoff time, when you're going up against playoff caliber teams, championship caliber teams, you need to be able to get off the field on 3rd down, and the Bills just have not been able to do that these past 2 seasons. Bobby Babich really under the gun, I think, as Bills defensive coordinator. He talks a good game, but the results speak for themselves. They took a step back on defense last year. They made some adjustments, brought in some reinforcements, and you really haven't seen the true shift that you'd like to see in terms of a positive trend from the Bills in certain key situations. So there are many underlying problems that have largely been glossed over due to the 3-0 start, but we already discussed the pass rush, and the secondary has always been a little bit questionable. You look at Taylor Rapp, Cole Bishop rebounding well from a poor start to the season, but like I said, Trey White, you saw the good and the bad. He was good in run support, but a little bit shoddy in pass coverage. And when he goes up against these more athletic, speedy wide receivers, it's going to be a problem for him. And it was nice to see his physicality and aggressiveness in run support, but you have to play that cushion coverage with Tre'Davious White, and that opens up things for opposing offenses. And we have a comment here from Trey Williams. I see a lot of media defending Bills defense, missing Ed Oliver and Matt Milano, disregarding that the Dolphins have about 10 more players on IR than any other team in the league. Would love to see the D improve. And yeah, that's a common thought for not only Bills fans, but really fans around the league. You really only see things from your team's lens. And I saw that with comments about the short week, about how that may have impacted the pass rush. Dolphins were on a short week too. So what's usually happening for one team or hurting one team is in terms of injuries or rest, that this, that, and the other thing. It's typically the case for both sides entering these matchups. So you always have to keep that into consideration. But Tre'Davious White earned the starting job out of training camp largely due to Maxwell Hairston's injury, and Hairston's set to come back, I believe, in 2 weeks. So it's going to be interesting to see if Hairston can push White for that starting job immediately, coming off the mend with that leg injury, knee injury, and whether or not White can hold things down. And there are plenty of question marks on this defense moving forward. Hopefully they can get Matt Milano and Ed Oliver back soon, as Sean McDermott provided some positive updates on both of those players during his Friday media availability, saying that he doesn't think it will be, or at least I think he provided one on Milano. Not sure if he got one on Oliver, but Oliver was out of the boot on Thursday night. So that seemingly trending toward a return for Ed Oliver. But McDermott on Milano on Friday said that he doesn't think it's a long-term injury, got some feedback from the training staff, and that hopefully points toward Milano getting back on the field sooner rather than later. I know that everybody really likes Dorian Williams, and so do I. I think he's a quality backup and could even be a starter on some teams in this league. But Milano does offer some things that Williams doesn't in terms of instincts, processing, and really that speed and athleticism to chase down ball carriers on the edge and in the flat. So I think you need Milano back. You need Oliver back, which would significantly aid this pass rush as well. And I'm expecting Oliver probably back by week 5. Milano perhaps on the same trajectory here with his pectoral injury. Oliver dealing with that ankle injury, of course. And we saw a video posted by Jonathan Acosta of him out of that walking boot, walking around a little bit gingerly, but still, I think he's trending toward a return in the next couple of weeks. All right. Please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Go to the YouTube app, wherever you get your audio podcast. Give us a rate, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, whatever you can do to help spread the word. We've had a great response on X, as always, but trying to increase the viewership on YouTube and also the listenership on the audio side. So please make sure to subscribe to Buffalo Pregame with Alex Brasky wherever you get your podcasts or live streams. All right, let's flip over to the offensive side of the ball. Josh Allen continues to set new historic marks week after week. On Sunday, he became the fastest player in NFL history to record 300 total touchdowns. That includes regular season and playoffs. He surpassed Patrick Mahomes, which is, of course, something to celebrate for Bills fans. And over his last 11 games, Allen has thrown 30 touchdown passes and been intercepted just once. And just incredible efficiency from the Bills quarterback. He's now 8-0 on Thursday Night Football. And really the most impressive aspect of Allen's progression over these years has been his ability to scale back his turnovers. And that caused a problem earlier in his career. But for the most part, he has eliminated that from his game. And I saw somebody post this on X today, how a lot of these teams get caught into this trap thinking that their rookie quarterbacks can suddenly take a step forward in the years to come, the way that Josh Allen did for the Bills. But he's really a unicorn. He's the exception to the rule. And on Thursday, he was at his best once again with that broken nose, potentially, the little bit of a raccoon eyes, bruising on his face. He donned the visor and came away with a 3-touchdown day, I believe, and over 200 yards passing. So a big day for Josh Allen. And once again on Thursday, the Bills win the turnover battle, or at least they didn't lose it. It was the 25th straight game that Buffalo has had as many or fewer turnovers than their opponent. And in my opinion, we talked about Terrell Bernard and the defense's ability to create turnovers, but Allen is the primary reason for this team not losing the turnover battle in 25 straight games. His ball security has been just incredible over these past few years as he's risen to MVP level status. And I would like to see the Bills open things up a little bit more, but it's tough to argue when things have been working the way that they have under Joe Brady. He's really been a calming force on Josh Allen and been able to take some of the pressure off him as well with the usage of James Cook, which we'll discuss in a little bit. But the Bills attempted just one pass over 10 yards all game, and that really speaks to kind of the approach that they've taken in this season. I know that that hasn't always been the case through the first 3 weeks, but that conservative approach, taking what the defense is giving you, that's really worked to the Bills' favor so far to start the season. And I'll have to go back and rewatch. I still haven't had a chance to do so, but I don't know if it was something the Dolphins did or, like I said, it was just Allen taking what he was given, or whether his receivers weren't getting open down the field. But whatever it was, it seemed to work for the Bills on Thursday night as they come away with the 10-point victory. And a little disappointed that I had the Bills plus or minus 11.5 in this game and just missed it. And the Matt Prater field goal really did me in on that one. But hey, we live to fight another day. A couple college football games coming up this weekend that are intriguing. So we'll get back on the horse in that regard. But either way, this is another remarkable performance from Josh Allen. And he's just asserting himself week after week as the best quarterback in this league. I know that there's a lot of discussion on that, but with Joe Burrow going down due to injury, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs taking a step back, and Jalen Hurts' average depth of target decreasing by 2 or 3 yards on average this season. I think Josh Allen, really what he's done this year and what he's helped the Bills accomplish this season has just been unprecedented. And you don't have to look any further than this stat, as the Bills made history on Thursday, becoming the first team in NFL history to record a 3-game stretch that included 100-plus points scored, 0 turnovers or less, or excuse me, 0 turnovers, less than 15 penalties, 150 plus rushing yards, and 250 plus passing yards in a 3-game stretch, as I said. That's the first team in NFL history to do that, were the Bills last night. And Josh Allen not only is the reason for the team's efficiency, but he's also the catalyst for the team's incredible production through its 3-0 start. And another big factor in the Bills' perfect start to the season, look at this tight end group and what they've been able to accomplish this season. Dalton Kincaid led the Bills in receiving for the first time since week 17 in his rookie season last night. He went for 66 yards, also scored a touchdown that took some tough running to punch his way in. And that's been probably the most impressive point of his progression from my perspective, is his toughness really taking a step forward, his ability in the blocking game. And you've seen him kind of run through a couple defenders and really give them the business, as they say, throughout the course of this season. And he helped open the door for Khalil Shakir on his touchdown with his blocking this game. And he's helped open the door for a couple of touchdowns. He helped pave the way for Elijah Moore during week 2 on that jet sweep / wide receiver reverse. So Dalton Kincaid making an impact both in the receiving game and in the blocking game. And I said before the game that it's time to give Kincaid the keys to the car as the team's true number 1 tight end, especially in the passing game, but for that matter, in the running game as well. But really what I mean with that is through the passing game, the number of targets that he's getting on a week-to-week basis, I think needs to outdo that of a Dawson Knox and obviously a Jackson Hawes as well. But in terms of the team's usage of 3 tight ends, it's been at a high rate through 3 weeks. And I don't know if Kincaid needs to see like number 1 level snap share. I don't know if I need to see him on the field for 80% of the snaps or anything. They all hovered, the Bills' 3 tight ends, at around 50% last night. Hawes was at 43%, Kincaid 55%, Knox 53%. So these guys are on the field often, and Hawes has really been another revelation for this team. He might be the Bills' best draft pick, although Deion Walker obviously has something to say about that, but catches his first career touchdown in this game. And right before he catches the touchdown, he puts veteran pass rusher Matthew Judon on his butt before making himself available and working on a string with Josh Allen, who was on the run and kind of baiting the defense, waiting for the right moment, and then gave a nice little shovel pass flip to Hawes for the touchdown. But Hawes has made a huge impact through the first 3 games of the season, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Perhaps his role even is more accentuated as the season goes along, because he's been effective. He's been an absolute dog in the blocking game, and his receiving ability has really, as I've said multiple times on this show, taken this offense and provided an extra dynamic when it brings on those heavy sets to either run the ball or to work some play action or throw the ball down the field. So Hawes, very impressive, and one of the benefactors of his addition and his ability in the blocking game has been running back James Cook. Another big game for Cook on Thursday, and he's really starting to assert himself as a true workhorse running back within this Bills offense. As was pointed out by Jeremy White on WGR today, his carry percentage is really taking a step forward this year, as Cook finished the game against Miami with 19 carries for 108 yards rushing. It was his second straight 100-yard game in his second career back-to-back 100-yard games. He did it a few years ago. He did it again in weeks 2 and 3 this year, going back-to-back with 100+. So my biggest takeaway with Cook through 3 games is, as Jeremy started to point out, and I kind of dug in a little bit deeper, it's his role now starting to develop as a workhorse running back for this team. Through 3 games, Cook has gotten 76% of the carries given to the Bills running backs, and he's also played 56% of the team's offensive snaps. Last season, Cook got 57% of the running back carries and played just 48% of the snaps for the Bills. So Ray Davis has become an afterthought in the running game. Didn't have a carry on Thursday night. The Bills paid James Cook and seem intent on using him as a true number one running back, which a year ago was something that we didn't think we would see with how deep this running back group proved to be. But Cook wanted the increase in snap share, wanted to be more of a focal point for this offense, wants to be on the field for 3rd down, and he had a couple of good pass pro snaps last night too. So James Cook doing everything he can to become that true 3-down force for the Bills, and you've seen that come to the forefront here over the course of the first 3 weeks. He's been very, very impressive, and it's tough to consider anybody but Josh Allen the MVP of this team, but with James Cook and what he's been able to present for this Bills offense, he is so valuable for this offensive skill group. Finally, a quick touch on special teams. Tyler Bass misses a 39-yard field goal way wide to the left and Tyler Bass. Matt Prater misses a 39-yard field goal way wide to the left, responded with a make later on from, I believe it was 48 yards, but did have me thinking about Tyler Bass, and a lot of people didn't like that on X, but I don't think the Bills should just hand this job to the 41-year-old Prater. Maybe Bass is truly injured and he's never able to come back this season, but I think as soon as he's healthy enough to come back, you bring him back. He was consistent at the end of last season, and Sean McDermott provided him a vote of confidence a few weeks ago. So I think Bass is in line to return to his role. That is, if he's healthy enough to do so down the stretch of the season. But let's talk about the Bills' 3rd down problem once again, as we laid out some of the numbers earlier in this episode. And I think that's got to be the concentration for this team moving forward. To reiterate once again, against these good teams down the stretch, and you don't face one of them coming here soon, as you have the New Orleans Saints, the New England Patriots, the Atlanta Falcons, a bye week, the Carolina Panthers, followed by a matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs. But you get Michael Hoyt back, you get Larry Ogunjobi back in week 6. That can potentially bring some added reinforcements along with Milano and Oliver's expected return from injury. So you do have some players coming down the pike here that should allow your team to at least take a step toward displaying those improvements on the field. So you got to get better on 3rd down, and I think those players down this stretch here, as you get closer to the bye week and after the bye week, getting those players back healthy and off suspension are really going to help the Bills take a step forward in terms of their 3rd down defense. But like I said, next week, Sunday, 1 p.m. against the New Orleans Saints, we'll be back at it next week, but a little bit of an extended respite this weekend after a surge to start the season. It's really been fast moving with the short week in week 3, but looking ahead, a little bit of time off here over the weekend to recharge the batteries, much needed for myself, and I can imagine the Buffalo Bills and Buffalo Bills fans as well. So that's going to do it. Another Bills win in the books. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast, and I'll see you next time.